Welcome to a high-level summary presentation on a handbook for post-secondary educators. With an increased growth and globalization of online post-secondary education, we thought it would be beneficial to build a handbook on how to support online learning for students, especially for how to work with students from India who are interested in pursuing educational opportunities in Canada and the US. In our handbook, we cover a number of topics including differences between the cultures of India in comparison to Canada and the US, and how to respond and facilitate as an instructor. How to engage with students, including communication, team building, and motivation. How creating synergy across multicultural teams is beneficial, plus what tools and technology can support these approaches. We're going to start out with a bit of a background. The online education market in India currently stands at 247 million and is estimated to witness an 8 times growth over the next 5 years to reach the 1.96 billion mark in 2021. Indian students who are not willing to go through the hardship of obtaining student visas in the US and Canada, but are eager to enroll in North American universities, resort to online degrees. Canadian universities have a good reputation around the world, attracting more international students, especially from India. Since the online learning market in India is expected to rise significantly in the next 5 years, Canadian universities are already at an advantage to attract these students who seek to enroll online. The purpose of this guide is to provide some tips and tools for educators to successfully engage the students from India in a virtualized classroom setup. The guide also provides a good understanding of cultural and social conditions in India that will help the instructors to learn about their students. As the instructors become more culturally aware and intelligent, they can adjust their course delivery methods to help the students succeed and help them feel like they're part of a group, even though they may feel isolated in these locations. We're just going to look a little bit at how we can manage the differences in space, time zones, and culture. Regarding space, students in India view space, personally or publicly, differently than we do in North America. Space and time present challenges with time zones, geography, and infrastructure. The difference in time zones is something that every student faces when working with a team or studying abroad. It presents differences and challenges that must be managed in order to be flexible towards both groups. India and North America cultures also differ in how they focus on time, being either monochromic or polychromic. With a monochromic culture, time is seen as linear and tasks are usually completed one at a time at a predetermined set schedule. In a polychromic culture, multiple tasks are completed all at once and schedules may change over time. Only culturally intelligent instructors can handle these differences effectively. They are highly capable of using cultural diversity as a tool to make their teaching more effective. They have the following key competencies. They facilitate critical reflection, teach respect for each other, they accommodate individual learners, they are experts at using intercultural communication skills, and they tend to engage students in cultural focus activities. An awareness about the student's background is important for educators for multiple reasons. Firstly, students' ability and approach to improvement is rooted in the cultural background, and secondly, the knowledge of cultural background can be used in constructing the knowledge-sharing platforms or tools used for the virtual education. Also, instructors can adopt a teaching style based on this knowledge. Considering India as a collectivist society, students from India are expecting to be influenced by the opinions of their team members, peers, and teachers. This makes the role of a teacher very important. A strong expectation-based relationship is often developed between students and teachers. Indian students may expect loyalty from the team members. Indian students also are found to have individualistic traits which are roots in their beliefs and value systems. Instructors should factor these considerations into group work and discussion. Communication is important, especially when there's cultural differences. Also, informal conversation is really important to build trust. So as an instructor, you can have informal conversation starters since they tend to be icebreakers and participants get to a greater level of open discussion once the discussions get a little bit friendlier. However, topics should be of interest, that they like to talk about, and something they feel comfortable discussing. These are the topics on the slide that people from India feel comfortable to talk about. They freely talk about their family background, where the student is originally from or currently located, or current local happenings or events. Moreover, they like to talk about sports like cricket, field hockey, soccer, and wrestling. Teachers can prompt a talk on Indian music and dance. However, they should avoid talking about serious political issues, corruption, poverty, and pollution. In Indian culture, people take care of commitments in terms of timelines, deadlines, and schedules, and are enthusiastic, competitive, and punctual in general. As an instructor, stating expectations with timelines and schedules can be helpful for them. In most cases, people from India try to agree to proposals, ideas, and suggestions because it's difficult for Indians to show direct disagreement. So how can we engage with Indian students? Communication is important in decision-making, problem-solving, motivating others, and exchanging information. Communication becomes more complex and difficult when it involves an array of cultures and different languages. These different perspectives can lead to possible misperceptions and communication barriers. The Indian culture screens stimuli differently than the North American culture. For example, Americans may appear rushed and focus on tasks, while Indians are more focused on relationships and take a slower approach. As an instructor, you'll need to be flexible to adapt your approach as you communicate with these students. On the screen, you'll see a couple of tips from the guide on how to effectively communicate with diverse students, especially those from an Indian culture. One example is to slow down the pace of communications and to state operating guidelines so different cultures know what is expected as part of the classroom and teamwork. Students from India will feel motivated and valued when an educator can encourage participation and their ideas. However, as an instructor, these expectations need to be stated to involve this level of engagement, since sometimes in this type of culture, they may feel that questioning authority may not be the right way to go about it. Some cultures do not understand the impact of diversity or are blind to the differences of culture, especially within the United States. So how, with these different viewpoints, how can we create synergy across multicultural teams? One of the challenges is North American cultures are trained to blind themselves to gender, race, and ethnicity, since it may appear to be judging or segmenting others, or even as racism, when in fact the organization does not take advantage of these diversities and may project unintentional ethnocentric behaviors. This results in not recognizing differences and using them as strengths. For educators, creating a cultural synergy across multicultural teams can be advantageous. Cultural synergy results in more effective human activities and systems since it builds upon similarities and fuses differences. As part of the guide to instruct international students from India, there are ways professors can create synergy in the virtual classroom. As an instructor, you'll need to facilitate and provide tools to reduce conflict and build collaboration. You'll also need to ensure that distant Indian students do not feel isolated or segregated. How can you, as an instructor, do this? Take the first couple minutes of class to get to know each other, build profiles with personal and professional details plus photos, and to provide support in an informal way to share conversations or ideas, set up a buddy system or highway cafes. When building teams, it is important to ensure that the teams are both small and diverse. In terms of sizing, it is recommended to create smaller groups of no more than 6 people, and to either allow the team to pick roles or assign them. In terms of diversity, instructors should strive to provide a more global experience and group team members from different regions together so students can experience other cultures and work directly with them. It is crucial for virtual leaders and instructors to build trust abroad. It is essential to be honest and open to students, and in return, students will be positive about future interactions. It is also important that at the beginning of the course that the instruction laid out their expectations and the agenda. Another suggestion is to communicate frequently, as it is not unusual for instructors to want to share reminders or interesting articles with class when outside of the classroom. It is also important that when students email, their emails should be responded to within at least 24 hours. So here are some tools that we can help enable students to communicate with each other. So a few examples of these tools are phones, video conferencing, Skype, and WebEx. It is important that when virtually communicating that participants are respectful and avoid distracting activities. It is important to rotate times for meetings when using any one of these communication methods, additionally supplementing these communication tools with an online blog or forum where students can comment or respond at any time. It's important to use collaboration tools and a learning management system. A learning management system enables students to participate and interact with other members of the class, keep track of their assessments, and interact with the instructor. An example of collaborative tools in the education space is Google Classroom, where students can share documents with each other and their instructor. So that summarized the high-level details of our presentation. The next steps as an educator would be to check out the full guide, which is separated out by sections if you wanted to look at different categories. And we'd just like to thank you for taking the time to learn about how you can improve as an online educator, especially helping to cater to those students from India.